There we have it. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Larkspur Planning Commission on Tuesday, September 9th, 2025. Let's have a roll call.
Wagstaff,
Here.
Commissioner Campbell,
Here.
Commissioner Swisher,
Here.
Commissioner Hull, here, and Commissioner Chalmers is absent tonight. You do have a quorum.
All right. Now, this is the opportunity for any public matters that are not, any comments on matters not on the agenda. Do I see any things that are not on tonight's agenda? Anything on Zoom? Nope. All right. Seeing none. Community Development Director's Report.
I only have one thing to report because I did receive a phone call that we're no longer placing the packets in the library at the request of the library. And so just to let you know, in case anyone asks you or for the public to be aware of, we'll modify our materials so that it indicates people can still come up to City Hall and see the packets during open hours if they need to see a paper copy of them, and otherwise they're available online. That's all I have to report.
And I have to report this is your last meeting, is it not? Elise Simonian's last meeting in Larkspur, and she has done one of the most amazing jobs. And we want to thank her for her incredible service to the city of Larkspur. All right, public hearings. 26 Baltimore Avenue, APN 021-171-07. Polsky Pearlstein Architects. It's an R1 first residential zoning, low density general plan designation. So this is a hearing on request for demolition of the existing residence and the construction of a new 3,262 square foot, two-story single-family residence with an attached 691 square foot ADU and an attached 356 square foot garage. The total structure would be 4,309 square feet and 620 square feet being entirely below grade, which does not count toward the FAR. The total floor area of the residence would be 3,689 square feet. So this is for design review for a new resident and associated landscaping, a slope use permit to allow 400 cubic yards of cut and fill, variance to allow a 40.4% or 3,033 square foot lot coverage, where 40%, 3,000 square foot is the permitted maximum, so only a 33 foot over that. An FAR exception to allow a floor area ratio of 0.49, 3,689 square feet, where 0.4 or 3,000 square feet is permitted by this code. The 620 square foot basement is entirely below the grade and does not count toward the floor area. And finally, a fence height exception to allow an 8-foot fence along the eastern property line, where a 6 foot is the maximum allowed by code, and a 6-foot fence along Monte Vista, where 3'6" is the maximum allowed by code. Can we have the city report, please?
Sure, thank you. Just share my screen here. Okay, yes, so as we've all just heard, this is PLN 24061 for 26 Baltimore Avenue. Let's see if this works. And as just a reminder, this is pretty close here, just down the street. It's located on the north side of Baltimore Avenue on the corner of Baltimore and Monte Vista. And on the right is a photo of the front of the existing home, which is proposed to be demolished. The project proposes to demolish the existing home and construct a new 3,262 square foot two-story residence with an attached 356 square foot garage and attached 691 square foot ADU. As proposed, this requires you to approve design review, a floor area ratio exception, a slope use permit, a variance, and a fence height exception. For a bit of background, you first heard this project at your June 10th, 2025 meeting. At that meeting, you voted to continue the item and had feedback for the applicant, including that the residence itself should meet the FAR and the lot coverage, with the understanding that the ADU could result in the project exceeding those allowed maximums, to reduce the bulk of the structure and to soften the eastern elevation. The project was on the agenda for your August 12th meeting, but that was canceled due to a lack of quorum, and so it is returning tonight. And here's the site plan. Let me see if I can zoom in here for you. The applicant has provided on the site plan some red dashed outlines to kind of show you the adjustments that they have made. The second floor has scooted, I believe it's 4 feet over towards the east, and then there's been some areas on the first floor that have been shrunk. but the general footprint and design remain largely the same. Here are the proposed floor plans. On the left is the basement, and on the right is the first floor, which contains the ADU, the entry living area, and a one-car garage. And this is the proposed second floor plan with the bedrooms and bathrooms. And here are the elevations. The project remains, as I said, largely the same style as when you first saw it. There have been some adjustments made by the applicant based off of your feedback. And this is the rear, and then the view from the neighbor to the east is the elevation on the bottom. And the applicant, this was all, I believe, if I remember correctly, one material on the second story, and based on your feedback, they've revised it to have two different materials. And the applicant has provided renderings of the project to show it in the context of the neighborhood. The project as designed has a floor area ratio, of 0.49, where the code allows 0.4. They are asking for 3,689 square feet of floor area, which, as you mentioned, does not include the basement. And without the ADU, this project would comply with the FAR requirements in the municipal code. It would be, I believe the FAR study I gave you says it would be about the 5th largest structure. That actually does not incorporate the 116 Monte Vista project, so it would be, I believe, the 6th largest structure in terms of floor area. And the average floor area ratio in the neighborhood is 0.37. And as designed, it does require a lot coverage variance. Has a lot coverage of 3,033 square feet, which includes the footprint of the building and the eaves. Every eave that is beyond 2 feet in depth is included in the lot coverage calculation. So there are some in this design where the eave is exempted, and then the large covered structure that they have at the rear of the residence would count in the lot coverage. So they are just only 33 square feet over the allowed, and similar to the FAR, if the AD were not included in the calculation, they would comply, and that's per your feedback. And it does require 400 cubic yards of cut for the basement and pool excavation, which triggers a slope use permit. And they've provided a grading plan and a construction management plan to address how that will happen. And lastly, they are asking for a fence height exception for 2 fences along the eastern property line that they share with a neighbor. They're proposing an 8-foot tall fence where 6 feet is the height limit, and that was at the request of the neighbor. And along Monte Vista, they are proposing a 6-foot fence where, because it is a street side yard, they're only permitted 3.5 feet in height. You have not received any new public comments for this meeting, but you have received public comments for the first meeting and then for what was scheduled to be the meeting on August 12th. You've received a total of 11 comment letters. There were 3 in favor and 8 as opposed to the application. And one of the comment letters in favor did have signatures of 6 neighbors also in support of the project. And the general opposition related to the scale and aesthetics as they relate to the surrounding residences. So that concludes my report. Staff recommends that the commission hold a public hearing, consider public testimony, and approve the application subject to findings, conditions of approval on a Class 2 CEQA exemption. I'm available for any questions, and the owner and architect are here as well. Thank you.
All right. Can we have I see Mr. Polsky's here. Would you like to talk?
Good evening. Is it on?
Doesn't seem like it's on.
It's on. My name is Jared Polsky. I'm here with my associate Laura Van Amberg. We're the architects, and my client, Ms. Mojtabai, is here also. At the 2 meetings ago, we were told, please bring your FAR back into conformance, not including the square footage of the ADU, which we did, and we are at 40% FAR, not including the ADU. In terms of lot coverage, we're 33 square feet over, but our understanding is that the code is about to change so that you don't have to count the lot coverage of the ADU. So we're well under that. In rejiggering the house, making it smaller, we've actually lowered the house by 6 inches. So we're 23 foot 6 and a 30-foot height limit. We changed the east elevation to look a little more interesting with the wood instead of a full stucco wall. The overhang is one of the neighbors suggested the overhang was 2.5 feet from the property line. It's actually 4'8" from the property line it's with an 18-inch overhang. That we're 4'8" from the side property line. We're hoping that our objective was to do all the things that you asked, and hopefully get approval. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
I had a quick question.
Yeah.
If you pulled the eaves back on that east side, I'm just curious why that eave is going out so far on that one part.
Well, I'll tell you why.
Because there's your 33 feet or whatever it is.
Well, that's true, but we don't want to jig and jog the overhang. It looks really bad. So we have an 18-inch overhang and by the kitchen, and that overhang continues all the way to the front. And when we jogged it, it just didn't look right.
Huh.
I mean, it sounds funny, and maybe you can show what you see from that corner of one of the renderings, but jogging the overhang, because the overhang is only 18 inches from the side of the house, but as the house jogged back, we didn't want to jog the overhang.
I was, not to get into the design work, but I was thinking you have a door coming out of the garage. And if you had a column that terminated the eave at that, point, so you had coverage over the garage door and then stepped it back, wouldn't that?
It wasn't that we couldn't do it. Can you, Alex? It just looks strange. You saw this one long line. It was purely an aesthetic decision.
Okay.
It just looked funny. And my understanding is that when the code changes, and it's supposed to change soon, we're going to be way under the lot coverage. Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, if it would, if it, I don't know, point it, but. This button. Okay, good. You can see that the overhang here is 18 inches, reasonable overhang. The overhang here is longer because the wall stepped back. But if this overhang would jog out, it looked bizarre. So our feeling was keeping this nice crisp line is much more, it looks a lot better. Our opinion.
So what was closer to the fence was an entire wall, not just the one.
No, I totally, you did the right thing.
Any other questions for Mr. Polsky from anybody else? Yeah. Tomorrow, any questions? All right, so let us open it up to the public then. Remember, when you speak, we want to try to limit to 3 minutes and obviously shorten to the point. Brevity is the soul of wit, et cetera, et cetera. So let's open it up and just introduce yourself when you get up there.
Is this the working mic?
Yep.
Hello, okay. Well, hello, my name is Frank Lobanon. My wife and I have lived at 16 Baltimore for 37 years. And our house is right next door to the proposed project. We look at the east elevation. We reviewed the drawings and think that there's been some improvement towards the reduction of mass, the height reduction and the smaller garage does help, in our opinion. And then the addition of the cedar cladding along that side helps break it up. We appreciate that. Unfortunately, the design, the second story came 4 foot closer to us, which it's unfortunate for us. Kind of increases how big the house feels. And the proposed change brings the second story windows closer, 4 feet closer, both on the eastern elevation and the northeast elevation. Because at the back corner of the house, there's some very large windows, about 7 feet wide by 6 feet tall. And these windows look directly down into our backyard. And they also look down into our dining area and our living room. And they're all 6 foot tall, so they're big windows. So we think that they're objectionably large and that they're going to let in bright light. And there's going to be a loss of privacy on our property because of these big windows. And again, they've moved 4 feet closer. We did look through the guidelines, the design guidelines for Larkspur, and it addresses this very thing. I just wanted to bring it up. I mean, you know it better than I do, but it says to stagger or alternate windows, use clerestory windows to prevent looking straight into the backyard or across into neighboring rooms of adjacent homes. Avoid placing windows in locations that look into adjacent windows or active yards. And there's a small graphic that demonstrates this. In the guidelines, it's under like windows to be avoided. The graphic depicts a person standing in the upstairs window looking down at a person using their barbecue in the yard. And that's right where my barbecue is. So I mean, they could have drawn the picture based on this, looking down at my yard where we barbecue and where we have a table. So we think it's reasonable to ask that these windows be rethought. Maybe smaller windows, clerestory windows, maybe opaque windows, something.
I'm sorry, on which elevation should I be looking here?
East. Well,
on the
if
east
you look up
elevation.
the east and the north, Alex, you want to
I'm
pop it up?
I'm looking at the east right here. Could you put that up, Alex? So I see 2 windows, and you say those are 7 feet tall,
6 feet tall.
6 feet.
Those are like 30. They're not dimension, I'm scaling. But correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think that this is the north.
Mm-hmm.
So these drag it down a little bit out. Down so you can see the okay. These two looking at our living room, looking at our dining room, and then if you drag it down to the north, these big, this is the 7 by 6. That's gonna look down into our barbecue patio area. It's unfortunate. Okay. So as I say, I think it's reasonable to have a rethink on that. And then the widened eave that Jared talked about, I scaled that at 2.5 feet off the house, not 18 inches. So I wonder what it's 18 inches. Well, I'd like to see that pulled back to the house. I don't know that it's gonna look jig-jag because the single story or the single car garage, like Brock was saying, has an overhang out to the door. So if that eave could just be a kind of a flattened element on the house, it would still help break up the plane, but it wouldn't feel as close to us because this eave runs for 59 feet and it's 12 feet off the ground and it's like 15 inches tall, a metal fascia. So it's really going to be in our face. And we look at it out of all of our windows. It's just kind of unfair. And we'll see it from our backyard as well. So anything we can do to lessen this, this feeling like this thing is right in our, in our house. So anyways, I don't know. I think that what we're asking is that Commissioner and the design team, understand the importance of our concerns and support our request to make some changes. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next.
Hi there. Is that working?
Yep.
Oh, it is. Okay. I'm Carrie Bogardus. I live on Monte Vista, 32 Monte Vista, so really 2 houses away. I'm 1 house off the corner, and we've lived there for 27 years. I have a couple concerns. One of them is, and I'm wondering if somebody could help me put the west elevation up with the fence. Is that possible? Oh, is that up? Oh, okay. So in the backyard, actually. Actually, you know what? Sorry, Alex. It's the one where you see it from the street with the fence. Yes, sorry, calling it the wrong thing. Okay, so this is the one I have questions about. So right now, in the current property, there's a little planting bed from the sidewalk to the retaining wall. Is that staying? It is staying. Okay, and then the little retaining wall at its highest spot is about 3.5 feet. I didn't measure it, but it's not 4 feet, but it's 3.5 feet. Then there's a 6-foot fence. So it just feels pretty ominous as you walk down that sidewalk. That's, a good 10 feet of height along there, and it's right up against the sidewalk. I know there's been other fence height exceptions in the neighborhood. And the way they've been solved is, well, first of all, it'd be nice not to have the 6-foot fence because it just feels, like you're walking against a wall. But if you have to have it, I know there's a pool back there. Is there any way it could be softened? Like, could you keep the planting bed and then step the fence back further and then plant again and soften it up? Because it's a looming structure. Right. Yeah. Right. 101 bulk. Yeah. So they just added some greenery and softened up this extreme height it's going to stand right up against the sidewalk. So that's one concern I have. And then the other concern that I had a hard time figuring out from the old plan to the new plan, how far from the property line on the Monte Vista side is the ADU? It feels very close.
All of the ADU would be 7'6" from the property line on Monte Vista.
And the property line is the sidewalk, or the property line is, do we know?
It would be the edge of the retaining wall. It's essentially
The
the
outside
property.
retaining
Yeah.
Okay, and so then does that have the 18-inch overhang as well, or?
That one, at least on the site plan, shows 2.5.
It's just a lot of mass right near the street. It's a lot. So there's a house further down the block, 230 Monte Vista, and the driveway's probably 10 feet. The garage is probably 10 feet off the street. And this is now 7 foot plus the 2.5 feet of the fascia, and the fascia is 18 inches tall. So it's a lot of action very close to the street on Monte Vista. Just wondering if there's any way to, take away a little more, so it's just not so it's kind of on the front and on the side corner. Everything's focused on that front toward the intersection. And then my third comment is, while I like modern and I do understand everybody can build what they want in any style they like, I'm having a hard time understanding this house in this neighborhood. I feel like the style of the house, what's going along with it are some very, very large windows and doors. There's going to be a large lantern effect, I like to call it, when the house is lit up. There's no trees. The trees are being taken down, and I'm hoping that some of this can be addressed because it's a lot of exposure on that corner. And the house actually sits very close to the front and Monte Vista corner of the property. So I'm kind of worried about the size of the windows compared to everything else that's in the neighborhood. They seem really, really big. But I'm just hoping everybody can kind of come to some decision that scales it all down. Thank you.
Next.
Hi, I'll try and keep in 3 minutes. I'm trying not to make this too much of a speech. I think it's fair to say that I think the architects have tried to do what they could to respond to the comments we had previously. And for us, the residents, this is somewhat of a damage limitation exercise. I heard how many people, were against the initial designs. I think those that were for it, I think you'd probably have to look at the credentials and see that the real estate who sold the property, the partner in that business, and the husband of the partner in that business were people who were very much for it. We're the people who live there, and we've been there for 20 years. And, I love mid-century modern. I don't think this is the best representation of that type of response in the neighborhood. It gives me no authority to say that I used to design houses for a living. I'm a resident. I think we could have had a better response to, the local neighborhood. I think it's ironic as I walk my dog back across the former rail station that you put this beautiful plaque in celebrating the heritage of the neighborhood and how this neighborhood is kind of represents a place where people come and see. It's almost like a leap back to a time where these mid-century houses, including ours, built in 1922, which is slightly over far, but I'm afraid we couldn't do anything about that because there's nothing been added on to it since 1922. I think that for us, I guess my ask is that maybe our design guides could be a little bit tighter. They could ask a little bit more of the designs that are going into our neighborhoods. I had the misfortune or pleasure, whichever way you want to look at it, working with the Altadena neighborhood recently. And there was a very famous architect, E.P. James, and had a mid-century design, kind of very much in the English style, very much like houses in this neighborhood. And the city's decided that they want to kind of preserve that look and feel. And design guys got very tight, making sure there are gables fronting the street, making sure there are pitched roofs, acknowledging the fact that there are a lot of trees. Like this building's been built, the flat roof next to one of the most mature redwood copses in the whole of the neighborhood. Anyone who's lived here will know you're going to spend half your life getting the redwood off the top of your roof. So I guess I respond very well to what you're saying. The house over the road from Harry and myself was asked to push back the fence because it was like a 3 or 4 feet and then a 6-foot fence exception they were looking for. And that, that relief actually has made it look pretty good. So we'd certainly like to look for that going down Monte Vista because fortunately or unfortunately, the properties on the other side may be built 6-foot fences or even I think they're even higher than 6 foot without going through the process. And so that's going to be a real tunnel as you enter that part of the street. So, I mean, net, I know this is going to be built. Now, we welcome you to the neighborhood. We know it's your dream house. We know you're working within the bounds of what's possible and what you're allowed to do. I really hope the city will come up with some slightly more informative design guides so that our architects can actually do, I think, a little bit better job in celebrating the heritage of the neighborhood. Okay, thank you.
All right, let's bring it back to, oh, I'm sorry. Is there anybody on Zoom? I apologize.
There's no hands raised on Zoom.
All right. Then let's bring it back to the commission. Let's start with you.
I think I'm on record as being pro fence, so they're not gonna like what, the neighbors aren't gonna like that I like the fence. I'm not a fan of flat roof houses. I've made that clear over the year and a half I've been on commission. But again, it's not my house, not my design. for a flat roof house, it's not a bad design. I am concerned, I didn't understand, one of the neighbors said, I think it was 116 Baltimore, that the second story is getting moved 4 feet closer, and I don't see that in the design, so I had a question for the architects on that. Is that what's happening? Because it didn't look like that in when I was looking at the old design versus the new design, I didn't see that change. And one of you, no, anybody?
It shows on the site.
Yeah. Here, let me.
Red line that shows it.
It's still, it's 11 foot 2 inches from the property line. Second floor.
Yeah, so let me. This works here. So the old second story, if you can see the red pointer, I'm gonna try to trace this red dash line right here.
Okay.
Oops. So that used to be the edge of the second story. Right in here. And so now this kind of darker gray shading, that's the new location. So yes, it has shifted. It's this portion that's we're talking about here, and
okay.
that's 4 feet. But as the architect is correct, it's 11 foot 2 from the property line to the second story, but the second story has shifted. It would have been, I think, 15 foot 2 in the prior design.
So it's 4 foot shift.
Yes.
So, continue.
I have no other questions.
Go to the other side, Brock?
So I think they've done a lot that helped improve the house. I think there are things that they could still do that would help out with the neighbor on the east side. In particular, the 1 bedroom on the northeast corner. If there's a way to shift that window, and I know there's a wonderful symmetry between the bedroom windows on both of those upper bedrooms, but I think it would serve the neighbors, and I don't think it's something anybody can see particularly other than, the person standing in the room. So I think there's ways to mitigate the windows in that room. I think the fence along the street seems tall with the retaining wall. I don't know that it needs to be that tall the whole way. And maybe there's a way to mitigate that. I think there are things that can still be done that work better for the neighborhood in general, and don't really change the design of the house, which I like. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I think I generally agree with Brock. Taking down our list of 5 items. Well, I guess first I want to talk about just briefly some of the design guidelines. You know, just to address that comment. Those design guidelines aren't come up in a vacuum. We had a meeting last year, I think, where we talked about the single family design guidelines and had public input and everything. So, we welcome your input. And I guess I just want to make it clear that there is a process for that. There was a process for that, and it was done in a I think an open, transparent manner. So I just want to make that point. All right. So ticking down our 5 things, the design review. I think it's I guess I say this, I feel like I say this a lot. It's not, if it was my dream house, it's not my dream design, but I can appreciate that it's an attractive design. It's a little bit different than some of the other houses in the neighborhood, but I think diversity is something that I can appreciate. So I don't have a problem with the design review. Slope use permit, I think I said it last time too. Going below grade is a way to create more floor area without having an impact on the neighbors. So I have no problems with the slope use permit. The lot coverage variance, I guess I have a question for staff. Is that Jared the architect was talking about a code change that's coming up where this project would be in compliance. And I just wanted to clarify, is that something that is on our radar coming up?
Yeah, you've already discussed it. I think it was
Yeah.
last meeting, 2 meetings ago. It's the, yeah, okay, so it's been
Yeah.
adopted. It's the new ADU ordinance. So if you recall, as it was written, this bonus to your floor area and lot coverage didn't apply when you constructed a new home at the same time that you built an ADU. And so that's been revised so that the bonus not only applies to existing homes building an ADU, but to new homes that are building an ADU.
Got it. Okay. So it seems like that is a variance right now, but wouldn't be a variance if the project was resubmitted or in the future, right? In a short couple weeks. Okay. So I think we can make the findings for that just based on that. The fence height, I think, yeah, I mean, I think it would be nice if it could be stepped in a little bit, especially since it's a dark colored fence. Understand the need for a fence because of the pool and everything. So, but you know, that I think that could make a difference. And then the floor area ratio exception, I think you guys have done what we asked last time and comply with the floor area ratio with the exception of the ADU, which I think we discussed it at the last meeting, but you know, the current state laws say that after a residence is built, you know, an ADU can be applied for and will be granted without review. So our goal is to sort of see, our goal with that allowing that sort of exception is to be able to see the ADU in the house on one plan set up front rather than, you know, having people come in and apply for a single family residence at the floor area ratio maximum, and then later on coming in and applying for an ADU, which would then be granted because of state law. So we just want to see all of it up front. So I guess, yeah, those are my comments.
Going back to the fence and the pool, remind me again, what is the fence height requirement if you have a pool?
6 feet.
It's 6 feet, isn't it?
It's
I
6
think
feet.
it's 6 feet. I mean, I just got rid of a pool, but my fence I thought had to be 6 feet. I was able to remove it. So I think they have to have a 6 foot fence because they have a pool.
But it doesn't have to be the whole way.
It has to be to keep access from the pool.
It could be around the pool.
It could be around the pool. That is
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, I think the rule, it has to be 6 foot non-climbable fence. We have a pool, so I know this, you know, we went through it. So, but you're correct. It can just be around the pool. It doesn't have to be around the whole property. Okay. Anything else?
I guess going back to I mean, we haven't heard from you yet.
No, but I'll talk. So I'll go backwards. The fence would be the first thing. I agree with Ms. Bogartis. I think the fence is monolithic and it doesn't look good. I think it would be something that you're just going to be looking up at. And I think that there's got to be a way to improve that. One of the ways is to make the fence so that it's transparent, like you could put wire or et cetera in the top 3 feet or so, and bring like if you were to bring the fence, the solid part down a little bit, and then make the top part just see-through wire, or step it back or do something. But I really dislike that fence intensely. And to echo Robert Frost, good fences make good neighbors. I just think I just don't like it. So I'd like that to be addressed. The other issue regarding the windows on the second floor, I think that's a legitimate complaint. And I'd like to see that there is some mitigation of that to help out the neighbors in this situation. And I don't know how you do that. If it's an issue of needing more light in there, I totally can see why you would want light in the second floor, so it's not a cave. But potentially, is there a way that you could put, let's say, skylights in to improve light and reduce those windows to make them higher windows that would sort of echo the north elevation type windows without being so big looking down into the neighbor's yard? And I'll leave that to the architects because I'm certainly not one to do that. But I think that you do need to make some kind of change to make your neighbor happy in that situation. Because it is, you know, you're looking right down into the yard, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the shade study that was done. That's great. Thank you for doing that. And as far as the other, I echo what Liam and says, I could make findings for the rest of it. But those are the two main issues that I have, is that the fence, I think, needs to be changed. And I'm hoping there's going to be some mature landscaping that's going to be put up around this, like trees, et cetera. I mean, that's part of the plan, I would assume, correct? I mean, I saw the landscaping plan. Yeah, okay, good. Because, otherwise, again, Ms. Bogarta says, it is going to have a lantern effect unless there's some trees that break up all the light that comes around that. And hopefully those can get put in somewhat of a mature, larger tree right off the get-go. Spend the money and get some larger trees. So that's what I think.
Maybe we could have some input from the architect on
Those
sounds like
comments,
we've
yeah.
had, have some
Yeah.
general feedback as a commission.
We have proposed two corner windows looking east. And those windows could be, have obscure glass to maintain the privacy between the properties. The fence along Monte Vista could be stepped in.
Mhm.
So that they have the retaining wall and then a little bit of a planting area and stepped in fence. We could also put a more transparent lacy top to the fence.
Yeah. I think that would it would make the property look more interesting and less monolithic too.
So
Fence by exception, will he try to enclose it to make it more private? He didn't have the retaining wall, so it was just 6-foot fence. And the city came back twice and made him open it up and leave slats. Because it's a fence type exception, so they're trying to.
Yeah.
Keeping it as open as possible.
I think that's a good idea, and we're happy to have it more transparent for the top couple feet of that fence and step it back.
Yeah.
I think that would go a long way.
And I think it would improve I mean, again, I'm not an architect, I'm an anesthesiologist. What the heck do I know? But, I mean, yeah, I think that would look pretty nice.
We would be very pleased to have a condition of approval, just to move forward, not have another hearing, to have some obscure glass in those two corner windows that face east and do just what we said for the fence.
Northeast windows are also an issue. They look right down our yard. So not just.
The north windows we need for egress. As bedroom windows, say you can't look out your window because you might see your neighbor to the side, seems a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be compromise. There's going to, you could get some things and others you might not want, but I think that as far as you could go, as much as you can to preserve the privacy of your neighbor, that would be great. Sure. So,
if you could, please speak at the microphone so it could be on the recording, please.
So, question for Jared, the windows that are facing my yard, not the east side. So I think Frank's concern is that those windows on the upper floor would have visibility to his yard. So the question for Jared is, do you actually have to come to the edge of the room, look this way to be able to see their yard? Or when you're standing in the room, you actually have full view of their yard?
Well.
If I could ask Jared for the.
Okay, no.
We're going to, sorry, just to try and keep people talking into the mic because there's people on Zoom who can't hear unless. Yeah.
I think, providing obscure glass on the east facing windows is about what we can do. To say the north facing windows, you might be able to stand and look at the side, seems a little bit, one can't expect total privacy from everybody's window. I think that's going a little too far. So that's what I feel.
And then we have to move on.
So I had the benefit of looking at the story poles for weeks and weeks and weeks. And so I could, if I can see it, it can see me. And remember, they're 7 feet wide. So this is a big deal. And I appreciate the concept of obscure glass, but we're also worried about, light wash from these again, because they're 6 feet tall. So I kind of like the notion of Dr. Swisher, clear story windows maybe on that side with some skylights to make up for the light. That would help a lot on the east side, and something on the north side for that 7-foot stretch, we're very concerned about that. And that's the one where, you know, I'm gonna be flipping burgers, looking up at it. Yeah, absolutely. We'll be seeing each other. We'll be waving out the window. It's not a good situation. That's not what we want. And one last thing. I don't know how you measured your 18-inch eave. Is it 18-inch eave and then there's another thickness of fascia? Because I have Bluebeam software and I was scaling that thing like crazy. And I come up with 2.5.
The elevations had it.
Okay, well, that would have been great to know, but can we pull it all the way to the house? Because I mean, this thing is pretty close and it's, as I say, it's 59 feet long. And it's my new wonderful view out all my windows. It's a bummer.
Yeah,
So I really would like that thing pulled in.
yeah.
I don't think it's asking that much.
Sure, and that's good, Jared, and then we'll wrap it up.
The neighbors have asked us to provide an 8-foot tall fence on that property. So we already are proposing a fence that is going to give them the privacy they've asked for. And then they've also said they have a lot of windows facing the garage, facing the side of the house. Well, they have a lot of windows facing us. So it seems a little bit disingenuous to say,
Yeah.
but we're you know, obscure glass on those corner windows, that makes sense. So.
Yeah. I mean, this is unfortunately, this is a common problem in Larkspur when people build, say, like in Heather Gardens, happens all the time that people are building second stories. And, you know, we don't have like a view limitation ordinance in Larkspur, et cetera. So I think that combination of this is, again, my opinion, but combination of window treatments to improve privacy, doing like what I said about the clear story windows up above is a great way to do stuff, obscure glass. But we're here, I mean, we're not here to redesign the house. And I think that you're going to have to work with each other to try to figure out the best solution to preserve your privacy and preserve your design to the extent that you need to do it. And I'm sure that you can work together to do that. So, go ahead.
I had a quick question, just so I'm clear. Jared, you're proposing that the window, there would be a corner obscure glass? Is that what you're saying? Could you wrap it to that, in other words, I think as you're standing there in that one window, you will be looking into the yard. Yeah.
There's not going to be room to, you can't rely on these plant trees to hide this. You guys put that big light, that big window up there. Now's the opportunity. And then
Yeah. Okay. One last comment.
Sorry. There really isn't an opportunity to work with each other. This tonight is the opportunity, because now there won't be any more communication. If it's anything like it was between the June meeting and now, there is no communication. Tonight's the night that we kind of settle things.
Can I just make one comment?
One more, yeah, that's it. And that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm the newcomer to the neighborhood,
Yeah.
but I really tried to reach out and get comments. I've had probably 30 emails, 20 emails from the Lobodons. Very specific requirements around what should be the window design, what should be the stucco design, what should be, and I've gone to their house. They've asked me specific things. I've incorporated that in my design. So to say there's been no communication, I think it's extremely disingenuous, with all due respect to my neighbors.
Right. All right. Brock, as an architect, any final comments on this window issue?
No, anytime you have a second story, you're going to have some interface with neighbors. I mean, that's just a reality. I think if you frost the windows, the corner windows, that's going to help a lot. If somebody really wants to look into somebody's yard, they can probably do it. That's not what most people do in a bedroom. So anyway, I'm okay with what they're proposing.
Motion.
Well, I got one more I was just curious, question for Jared. So you've got the two windows. I'm looking at the north elevation on this, or the eastern corner there that we've been talking about. And the windows are sort of up against the corner. And I'm also not an architect, but it seems like if you move them like a little bit in, you might not have the angle from the house to the yard. I'm just curious if, if there was a, I mean, I know, I see that it's like, it's symmetrical from one side to the other. And it's,
Yeah, it's a
it's,
symmetry there, yeah.
it's nice from that standpoint. I'm just,
Well,
I guess voicing that.
yeah. All right,
Okay.
all right, let's make a motion if I can. Liam, why don't you do it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess, can I just say, like, I think that, I think that, yeah, like Brock said, anytime you add a second story, there's going to be, some privacy loss from the neighbors, but at the same, on the same vein, if the neighbors were to add a second story, they would be able to see into the backyard of this property. So there's a give and take there, I think, and it's an issue that we deal with. We don't take it lightly. We have to balance it. But I think in this case, I think that the applicants have made a good faith effort to incorporate our design changes and our suggestions from the last meeting. And I think I can make the findings. So with that, I'll move to approve application number 24-061 at 26 Baltimore Avenue, subject to the condition of frosting the two east facing windows, or otherwise obscuring
And then-
them.
And the fence.
Oh, and then subject to the
Design modifications of the fence, stepping it back and increasing more visible space so that it's not monolithic. How would you word that? Just anyway.
Yeah, if you could give me a
More
distance you're thinking for the step back and
Say, a foot?
probably more than a foot.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
2 feet.
I would say 2 feet.
Yeah, okay, 2 feet.
2 feet with increased light and space in the top 2 foot, 2 feet of the fence.
Does that give staff enough to go on?
yes. Thank you.
Okay, so moved.
All right, roll call vote.
Oh, we have to have a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, Commissioner Hall,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagstaff,
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell,
Yes.
and Chair Swisher.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes, 4 ayes, no noes, 1 absence. And subject to a 10-day appeal fee, you can appeal by filing the paperwork and the fee with the city clerk before 5 p.m. on the 10th day.
All right, next is 75 Cedar Avenue, APN 020-202-05. Again, Polsky Pearlstein Architects. First residential zoning. This is a request for a design review for 130 cubic yards of grading and construction associated with construction of new decks, pool, and pool bath storage structure, replacing areas of the driveway retaining wall and new landscaping, a heritage tree removal permit to locate a 36-inch palm tree, a setback waiver to legalize a shed in the east side setback and hot tub deck in the west side setback, and a fence height exception to legalize fencing over 6 feet tall along the south, east, and west property lines. So,
Thank
staff
you.
report.
You just described the application.
Good.
And I'll go to the
I'm good that way.
the site plan, which shows the proposed addition, which is on the west side of the site and in front of the residence. The residence on this site was built on the ridge, and so it has a very large front yard area. The entire essentially main yard is between the residents in the street. And the applicants are just proposing to build a new pool and some deck areas around it, and also a bathroom and storage structure. And this is the rendering that they've submitted, which I think describes the project well. So you could see that it's going to be an elevated deck. And then the pool house structure is lower than the existing structures on the site. And there's a new trellis that's also lower than the existing shade structure that's between the house and the street. From the elevations, the height of the building should not be visible to the neighboring residents due to existing vegetation and trees. And there also is a lot of vegetation between the street and where the deck is proposed, so it should be fairly difficult to see from off-site. The applicants asked me to include this photo with the presentation, and so I'll leave it up in case they have some comments. But it does show that the neighboring homes also have swimming pools on either side of 75 Cedar, and then there's also a home across the street on Cedar that has a swimming pool also. Staff is recommending approval of the application. The slope use permit, they could try to avoid the slope use permit. However, it would be difficult to do the grading associated with the project and keep it below 25 cubic yards, which is what triggers a slope use permit for a property that's previously received a slope use permit. So this application had to come before you, even if there was a minor amount of grading. And we support the heritage tree removal because although they're taking out a large palm tree, they're just replacing it on the site, and that should be possible for the palm tree. And they're requesting to legalize fences. The fences, I believe on the west side might have been constructed by another neighbor or maybe jointly with this applicant. But when I visited the site, I noticed they're really, really tall fences that are at the site. But this would legalize those fences. The neighbors aren't complaining about the fences, that I think they're mutually beneficial and they're not readily visible off-site. So staff supports a fence height exception to legalize it. And then there's also been a couple structures that were installed at the site since the house was built, a shed in the setback and a hot tub in the setback. But the city's slope use permit regulations allow the planning commission to modify setbacks by approval of a slope use permit. So the standard variance findings don't have to be made. And so the shed structure is right off the driveway, and it's not going to make a difference to move it over, but it's difficult to move it over due to the slope of the site. And the hot tub that's in the southwest corner of the site could also be moved over, but it wouldn't make a significant difference to the neighbor who can't see the structure due to the significantly large fence that's between the two properties. And that neighbor also has a hot tub on the other side of the fence, although that hot tub meets the setbacks. So staff is in support of legalizing the improvements at the site and also approving the request for the new pool and deck area. And that concludes my report, unless you have any questions for me.
Yep. Questions? Yep. All right. Brad?
Good evening. Thanks for hearing our project and great staff report. And we worked real hard to keep this simple. And really what triggered this was some grading, and it's not a whole lot of grading. The architect Laura's here and the homeowners are here, and I'm here to answer any questions you might have. Are you gonna have a pool party? No. Oh, first we can have a pool party. Oh, I'm invited.
I don't have any questions. Do you, Tam, no? Any public comments that we have? Anybody on Zoom? Any comments? All right. Nobody in the audience wants to say anything? Any window comments? No. All right. All right. Let's bring it back. This time we'll start with Brock.
I think it's a great addition to a beautiful piece of property.
Liam.
Yeah, I mean, I think I always go down the list of findings. Slope use permit, it certainly makes sense to do some grading to repair the retaining wall and construct a pool. It seems like it's necessary. And design review, I don't think you're going to see most of this from the public right away anyway. The heritage tree removal, it's being replaced, so I can make the findings for that. And slope use permit is to legalize the shed and the hot tub, again, not visible from the public right away, and we haven't had any comments from the neighbors against those items. And then the same with the fence site exception. So I think I can make the findings to approve this project.
I agree with Brock and Liam.
There we go. And I guess I really like the design. I think it's really elegant. I like your pool. It's nice. I wish I had a pool house like that. It's very nice. So I can make the findings. So let's, Tamara, you want to make a motion?
Elise, you're about to make a comment?
Oh, no,
No?
it's
Okay.
gonna call roll
Oh.
as soon as you make a motion.
She's getting really antsy for her last meeting,
I
I'm
know.
just gonna say. All right, I move to approve project PLN 25-013 for 75 Cedar Avenue for the slope use permit and design review, the heritage tree removal, the slope use permit for the shed and the hot tub and deck, and the fence height exception.
I second.
Commissioner Wagstaff,
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell,
Yes.
Commissioner Swisher,
Yes.
Commissioner Hull,
Yes.
and Commissioner Chalmers is absent, but the motion passes 4-0. There is a right to appeal this decision by filing an appeal form and the appeal fee with the city clerk within 10 calendar days.
All right. Congratulations. Thanks. And hey, Brad, email Dana. Yeah, thanks. Okay. Next.
Oh, she has to excuse herself?
Okay. All right, the next on, yeah, finally, I'm sick of these guys. 546A Magnolia Avenue, Roberto Saldana applicant, APN 020-254-16. This is a design review for alterations, including exposing existing outdoor patio space at the front and the rear structure for a property within the downtown historic district.
All right, I will try to keep it brief here for you, since you do such a good job of describing the projects for us.
I am,
Appreciate that.
I can read.
So yes, this is PLN 24, 054 for 546A Magnolia Avenue. It's just down the street here, generally across from a left bank. And the suite's currently occupied by World Green Acai. You can see it on the right there, and that is the existing enclosure at the front of the structure. They are just seeking design review approval to enclose the outdoor patio space at both the front and the rear. There's no expansion of the footprint being proposed. The site, as you have just noted, is within the downtown historic district, but it is not a historic structure itself. That is still required to be reviewed by the Heritage Preservation Board. They reviewed it at their August 28th meeting and forwarded a recommendation of approval to the Planning Commission. The materials proposed for the siding is a clear vinyl fabric panel, and the roofing would be a polyester fabric roofing. There'd be no change in the height. It's currently 10 foot 8 inches and would remain 10 foot 8 inches. You've received, well, there were 3 public comments submitted in advance of the Heritage Preservation Board. None were submitted tonight for your review, but I have included them in the packet so you could look at them. Generally all in support, but there were 2 that did have concerns about existing exterior lighting. And as you may or may not be aware, one of the standard conditions of approval is to treat exterior lights so that they prevent glare across property lines. So if it were to be approved tonight, that concern would be addressed and the condition of approval would be enforced by staff. And you may recall earlier this year, at your February 11th, 2025 meeting, you did discuss commercial accessory structures and outdoor seating areas like this. Generally, from my review of the meeting, you had reservations about plastic enclosures, and you discussed properties at Pico, Don Antonio, which is now transitioned to a new restaurant, in Marin Country Mart. So I just wanted to remind you about that discussion. But lastly, staff recommends that the commission hold a public hearing, consider public testimony, discuss the project, and if you support the application, approve it subject to findings, conditions of approval, and a Class 1 CEQA exemption. Thank you.
All right. Do we have applicant who'd like to comment?
I know very good. My friend.
I'm gonna represent.
Sorry.
No problem.
Just to, my name is Andrea Vargas. I am a Roberto friend, and I am also an architect here in Marin. And I just here to first thank you to recommend approval, and also just to say that it's a simple project, and I think it's just this enclosing with a clear material will help them to run the business during the raining season, which is important for them because the interior area is very small, cannot take many people sitting down. So that's all I have to say. Yeah, there is only 6 spaces to sit on the bar inside, like a bar area.
Okay,
Okay,
excellent.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
I got one question for you guys before you go. So there's a cover there, an awning right now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And so this is to enclose the outside because rain is getting under the awning. Is that
that's
right?
correct.
Okay.
Yes,
And that's the awning at the front or the back
and the back,
and the back?
both.
So you're basically, it would be the same space as what's indicated in the front and the back when you're walking around and looking at it.
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
And would the plan be to keep it up all the time or to take it down in the summer when it's nice out?
The conditions of approval from fire,
Yeah.
right, is 6 months?
The fire department has a condition that they can only keep it up 180 days a year. So it would be seasonal.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah, so he's just saying that during summer, they cannot even leave it closed because it's too hot.
Yeah.
So, but fire requested that for at least maximum 6 months of the year to be done.
okay,
Yeah,
Okay.
Sounds
cool.
great.
Thank you.
thank you.
All right. Any other public comments? Any comments on Zoom?
No hands up on Zoom.
All right, then let's, Liam, we'll start this time.
Sure. Yeah. I was sort of remembering back to our discussion about these, for those of you that weren't there, we had a bunch of pictures of all the outdoor or many of the outdoor spaces, outdoor dining spaces in Larkspur. And we're sort of just discussing, features that we liked and didn't like. And I'm a big fan of outdoor dining. I think it's great. I think it sort of, enhances the streetscape and all that. So I'm a big fan of it. I'm not as big of a fan of the vinyl plastic. I understand the need for it. It sort of keeps it going year round. And I appreciate that it can only be up half the year. So I think that's good. I recall from our discussion that there are some other properties in Larkspur that have a similar requirement where the enclosure stays up all the time. Is it?
Yeah,
I
I do
recall it.
recall having that discussion. So it would be something that staff would have to be pertinent about enforcing, so.
Right. So those are my thoughts. I think it's basically just a bigger awning, and I do hope that it is up in the summer, so it's not just an extension of the indoor space, but really sort of merging the indoor and outdoor spaces. So those are my thoughts.
Tara?
I went and looked at it, from both sides, and it makes sense to me that they would want something like this. So, looking at the design review requirements, my only concern was the neighbors with the lights. But, with that being addressed with the conditions of approval and something that can be enforced by staff, I can make the findings.
I'm also good with it. I think any increase in activity and just generally people out having fun is a good thing. So
And I echo that again. I agree. I think one of the only good things that came out of COVID was a lot of these parklets and outdoor dining. It leads to a much more festive and interesting place to live. And I think Larkspur is really improved by your business. Thank you. I'm all for it. And of course, with the understanding about the light issue, I think that is a concern that you need to address with the neighbors. So I can make the findings.
No, I just did the last one.
No, did you?
Yeah.
Brock.
okay. I move approval of project number 24054, design review for outdoor spaces.
A second.
With the condition, do we want to put a condition on the lighting, or is that just something that
It's already in there,
it's in
yeah.
there? Okay. Okay. Second.
I second.
Okay, Commissioner Hall,
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagstaff,
Yes.
and Chair Swisher.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes. The project is approved. 4 yeses, 0 nos, and 1 absence. And the approval is subject to the 10-day appeal period. You can appeal by filing the form and required fee with the city clerk before 5 p.m. of the 10th day. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Should we go get Elise?
Yeah, we can get Elise. Yeah.
For this next one.
Mhm.
Oh.
Mhm. Is Mr. Saldana, are they Portuguese or?
Did that, yeah. No, we didn't get it. I had to ask. Supposed to take that off.
There she is. All right, next on the agenda is item D, review the draft ordinance, 2-unit developments and urban lot splits in single-family zoning district, SB 9. Staff report, please.
So we're recommending approval of some modifications to chapter. Let's see, where's this chapter? 18.100. The city of Larkspur has regulations in place to address what's commonly known as SB 9. And that allows up to 2 units on a single family lot and also subdivision of single family lots to create multiple residences. And the state previously had allowed the city to make our own objective standards, and like many other cities across the state, jurisdictions have made really restrictive standards in order to maintain single family residences and discourage the creation of SB 9 units. And Larkspur made some pretty restrictive standards too, and no applications have been received since the ordinance went into effect. And in fact, across the Bay Area, there's been very few SB 9 applications. The state keeps track of how many have been submitted, and there just aren't that many submitted because I think a lot of jurisdictions imposed pretty stringent standards on them. So the state then passed a new legislation that says that the city can't apply any more restrictive regulations to these subdivisions and new home developments that apply to any other single family development in a single family neighborhood. So staff is recommending modifications to our ordinance so that it is in conformance with the regulations that apply for single family residences. The city doesn't have very many objective standards for single family residences, though, just setbacks and floor area and lot coverage. But we did adopt the objective design and development standards, and in anticipation of this happening someday, the city did make a zoning district to cover all the single family neighborhoods, and that's with the T3, I believe it's the T3 objective edge neighborhood design standard. They weren't intended for single family home sites. I guess they were, but there's a huge variety to the kind of single family home sites that we see in Larkspur. Some are huge and then some are sloped, and they're not designed to take into account every single sort of standard that might come up for these different kinds of lots, but at least there's more parameters than what we have in our standard R1 district regulations. So I'm recommending that you incorporate some of those standards into the SB9 regulations. So essentially, if someone came in for an SB9 unit, they would have to comply with the objective standards in the T3 district. And like, for example, put a porch on the front or have a stoop on the front. There's just some other little requirements. The walls are limited to a certain height. As I noted in staff report, we, for some reason, I think because in most cases, those homes in T3, if you're subdividing any single family home lot, you're going to have a very small site. So the front setback was reduced in the T3 district. So where normally it's 20 feet, in the T3 district, it's only 15. So that's the only standard that would be more or like looser for these projects. But if the sites really are very small, it might make sense to have a smaller setback because it's going to be difficult to put a porch or a stoop or things like that on a small site and meet a 20-foot front setback. But there's a number of other changes that were made to the ordinance just to address other either provisions like just to rename certain sections because SB9 is now out of date. So now it references the government code instead of SB9. And then there's other various modifications made just to make it consistent with the single family, the standards that are imposed on single family zoning, and also to address other provisions in the new law that have like timelines for when we have to process these applications. You have alternatives. You could not impose the T3 standards and just have the standard R1 standards apply, just have really limited standards, and essentially projects could come, they would never come to you. They would come in for a building permit to, for example, just tear down a home and build it, and they just need to comply with the 20-foot front yard setback and the required side setbacks and the height limit, but there wouldn't be any other design standards that the city would impose. And then you could also recommend to the city council to budget, for example, to make new standards or better objective standards that are intended for single family residential neighborhoods, which would be, a project, and definitely want to hire a consultant similar to the one that developed the original objective standards to develop some, like to look at what's existing in the single family neighborhoods and come up with some of their standards. So for primarily just to even have just something in place that complies with state law, we're recommending the ordinance that's attached. So we'd recommend that you recommend that the city council introduce the ordinance and adopt it. And you could always come back and modify the regulations, but at least this would bring it up to date with the current regulations. And if someone came in with a project, we'd know what rules to apply to that project. So that concludes my staff report, unless you have any questions. I know this one's a little more complicated than most, but also because you've never seen any applications that come in, or nor will you ever, I guess, because they're all being ministerial.
Are there any public comments? Nothing on Zoom? Well, you're the only public here, but there's also Zoom, the wide world.
There is one hand up on Zoom. It's Matt Popovich. You should be able to unmute and speak.
Hi, good evening, commissioners. My name is Matt Popovich. My wife and I live at Larkspur Courts with our two kids who are 2.5 and 9 months old. I'm testifying because my grandparents moved out here from the city in 1959. They bought a house on the next hill over in Green Bay for $35,000, which I believe is a little less than $400K in today's dollars. Today, the median home price in Larkspur is a little over $2 million. That's according to Zillow, just checked. I'm older than my grandparents were then, and we still rent. That high barrier to entry is a big reason why. But we'd like to become homeowners here one day. It's the ideal place. We're close to my family. It's an easy commute in the city for my job, and it's a beautiful place to live. So I really hope that in choosing to make a recommendation to the council, you'll keep in mind families like mine and the ability of SB9 without a bunch of restrictive standards that eliminates the ability for these projects to go forward to create the kind of affordable homes that young families can afford, the kind of starter homes that have sort of almost gone extinct around here since then. So
Yeah.
thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you, Mr. Popovich. Does anybody?
I'll start with a few things that so I had a bunch of questions really. And some of them I just didn't quite understand reading through this, but my understanding is the minimum lot size is 1,200 square feet. That's what you can.
Yes and no. So there is a proportion requirement, like I think 40-60%, like the
Yeah, it
size.
can't be less than.
But if you have a really small lot, it could, like if you had a 2,400 square foot lot, then the lot could be 1,200 square feet.
And then the other thing is they're requiring only one parking spot per residence. And if you're within a half mile of public transport, you don't need any parking. And in a society where there's cars everywhere, I'm just wondering where they're going to go.
On the street.
Yeah. So also, the way I was reading it, there's no setback required for the existing primary structure when you do the lot split.
Right.
You can split it on right with the property line on the wall. I mean, basically.
I thought that that's a good question. I think that's correct. So you could and you could build the existing home to the maximum size permitted and then split the lot too.
And then, just out of curiosity, so the minimum lot size technically in Larkspur is 7,500 square feet, right?
There's requirements for subdivision. There's minimum lot sizes for subdivision, which have larger lot sizes, right, than exist on many lots.
And then on top of it, after you've split the lot, each person could do an ADU or JADU. So you could have 4 units on what was a single family lot.
The city can limit ADUs, like they don't have to allow ADUs for each of the SB9 units, but the city does have to allow 2 units for each of the lots. So 2 primary units, but the city doesn't have to allow accessory dwelling units for each of the primary units.
And after it's split, after you split your lot, can that person then split it again?
No,
Okay.
at least not under current state law and the proposed regulations or existing regulations.
Okay, that's what I've got for now.
So I was trying to understand. So I know that the city has their own minimum lot size. Is that now overridden by this?
Yes.
Okay. So and it kept saying urban lot, are we considered urban? To me, urban San Francisco.
I guess we're considered not urban, urbanized area by the census. So yes, in that sense. And then the state called this chapter of state law like urban lot splits. So it's a kind of a term that comes from state law.
Okay.
But the city is in most of Marin County considered an urbanized area.
Okay. So we would be subject to, I guess what I'm trying to say, so you're proposing this because state law has changed. We need to meet state law. State law is saying they could split up to a small size of 1,200, which overrides our current.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like this is this is primarily a housekeeping item to keep us up to date with state law, with a few sort of options for us to choose from.
But, and going back to the comment of the commenter too, the housing element is also intended to encourage development of housing. And one of the goals in the housing element, or one of the policies or programs, was, I think, to bring the planning commission data on how many of these units are being created. As you look at the numbers of even market rate units and our RENA requirement for building market rate units. So this is, as there aren't units being created under our existing SB9 program, and there is an opportunity to create more market rate units if those regulations are reduced. So it was a program to bring this to you too, just to see if you want to change the regulations to make, to see if they're resulting in affordable housing, which I don't expect it to result in affordable housing, just, but maybe more affordable, because condos are generally more affordable than single family, but it also could result in new market rate units.
Yeah.
And we have
Yeah.
a large number of market rate units that we have to develop in the next, to comply with our housing element.
Well, I think, even if they are market rate, they're going to be on a smaller lot. So I would guess that they'd be more affordable. They may still fall in the market rate category, but they may be more affordable than some of the larger lots and larger houses. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get on my soapbox here, but I can sympathize with our person who commented, because I'm in a similar situation, being priced out of Marin. And so I think that we're in danger of losing people that, that we want to live in this community. So I think that any way that we can, certainly it's change, and certainly there are other issues that come with that, like parking and density and sort of some of the things that we think of as like the feel of neighborhoods. But I think that there is also, there are also good things that can come from creating more housing units. So, I could talk for another couple hours on that, but I think I'll leave it at that.
Okay. I don't have any specific comments. I think that I would agree with the staff recommendation. So, we just need.
I'm curious if our resident lawyer, Natasha, had a chance to review
I don't
this,
know.
or if she
She
gave
didn't have
any
any
comments
comments yet.
Okay.
I actually chatted with Natasha just because she's the lawyer one of us, and she had some reservations too, as I do. I just don't. I can visualize some real difficulties and some bad outcomes, but I can also see where it helps in a lot of ways. So, I guess maybe we should pass it along to the city council, let them deal with it. But
Well, and I think a lot of these, I mean, in terms of what we can do here, a lot of this is dictated by state law, right? So we really don't have a choice about it. We can talk about how we feel about it, but it seems like either we approve it and adopt it into our municipal code, or the state law overrides our municipal code and we have the same outcome down the road.
That's correct.
You guys ready?
Well, just out of curiosity, if for instance, Larkspur said no, do they lose funding? Is that the
So no,
hammer that the state holds over?
so since the city already has an ordinance in place, the original version.
Yeah, I know.
We would just need to apply we just need to apply the state law, like staff would just apply the state law. If someone came in with an application, we would not follow our local ordinance and would follow the state law. If, I don't know what we would do if we were directed not to, but I would just imagine the state would fine us. Or have some sort of penalty for us failing to follow the state law.
clear, you would follow state law regardless of what the city code is.
Correct.
Okay,
But it does make it confusing for people who want to apply.
right, because they're not gonna, if they don't know
They think the city law
is up to date,
up to date and right.
right?
And also we have one resident who's interested in applying, but he's wary of going through that process when he doesn't know what the rules are.
Well, we need a motion to,
Yes,
Right.
please. And there's a motion right at the top of the staff report if anyone wants to read it.
let's do that.
I'll read it. I move to find the proposed amendments to Title 18 zoning regulations consistent with the general plan and recommend that the city council approve the draft ordinance to amend Title 18 for 2-unit developments and lot splits in response to the provisions of Senate Bill 450.
Second?
I'll second, but can we have discussion before we vote?
Oh,
Is that
sure,
one more
yeah,
thing?
no, go
Well,
for it.
just one more thing. I noticed that in page 7 of 21, 18.100.040 in A, it says a parcel map and a subdivision application as set forth in XXXXX of this chapter.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I had flagged that.
Thank you. Yeah, it was.
We
gonna go
gotta-
back
we gotta
and fill
update
in,
that.
I forgot. We could update that because it's supposed to be.
I had to put my Natasha hat on.
Mm.
Thank you.
I think she used the kid excuse to, no,
Dasha?
yeah.
I believe it's 18-100-70.
Okay. well,
And that's something we could correct
Yeah, just fill that in.
later.
That's fine. All right, so we have a second.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
seconded.
she's like, so go ahead and roll call.
Commissioner Wagstaff,
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell,
Yes.
Commissioner Swisher,
Yes,
Commissioner Hull,
Yes.
and Commissioner Chalmers is absent. The motion carries.
right, excellent.
And then this item will go to the city council for introduction, and if they introduce it, there'll be a second hearing for adoption.
All right, next item, I didn't see any packets on this. Reviewed the draft ordinance for open space and parkland zoning.
Yeah, I didn't finish it. I was really hoping to get that done
Okay, so
tonight, but
let's,
it's not on the agenda, and I wouldn't recommend continuing it for now. They could just renotice it.
all right, so that's stricken from the agenda.
Yeah.
Stricken from the agenda. All right, then our next item is to approve the August 12th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting minutes. No, we had one that we did not.
This is August 26th, right?
August 26th, yeah.
It looks like we did not approve August 12th. Okay. We didn't meet in August.
Did you mean August 26th instead of August 12th?
Is it just August 26th? Were there only one meeting
Yeah.
minute?
Right,
Yeah.
Just
so it's August 26th then. Fine, but I read that. Can I have a motion to approve? Is there any comments on this before?
Oh, yeah. It's my big chance. I'll move to approve the minutes
Excellent.
I'll second
of August 26th.
of August 26th. I'll second those minutes.
All right, roll call.
Commissioner Wagstaff,
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell,
Yes.
Commissioner Swisher,
Yes.
Commissioner Hull,
Yes.
and Commissioner Chalmers is absent. The motion carries 4-0.
All right. Are there any planning commissioner reports?
I had a quick question. Did Jared staple that set or did you guys?
Oh, our administrative assistant did. Was it easier to look at that way or
No.
difficult?
No.
Please.
It was
I was taking
photocopied.
Staples
It was
out.
photocopied the wrong direction.
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
thought, well, maybe they could see it. Okay.
All right.
I have a report, I guess, before we adjourn. You already
Yeah.
sort of covered it, but this is Elise's last
Yes.
meeting,
Yeah.
so congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
And
service.
at least your plans are, is it travel? You're going to go?
Not tomorrow. Tomorrow I have to work still.
Yeah.
Ah,
Thursday's your last.
Thursday I'm flying to
Spain.
The Paris to start, yeah, the community.
You're
Yeah.
gonna walk,
Yeah.
okay.
How
We'll
fun.
see you tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I'll see.
Well,
tomorrow I'll be
we
here.
hope,
Yeah.
because it sounds like if you're reading the news that World War III might be starting in Poland right now. But so
You'll be fine on the trail in Spain.
yeah,
Don't worry about
yeah,
it.
yeah. Well, it's close enough. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you,
I,
Jeff.
Yeah.
I think we
Yeah.
have public comment.
Oh, that's right. So this, sorry, this gentleman he owns one of the properties that was proposed for rezoning to open space.
Yes. sure.
And staff was going to recommend that his site be rezoned to R1 and like taken out of the open space designation as a small sliver. So it'll be it's not going to be rezoned. It'll just come back another time. And then we'll pass along what my recommendation was to the next staff so that they could bring it forward with that change. So the next notice you get should say that it's being rezoned to R1, right?
All right. Well, thank you. You've been really patient. You've been-
Yeah, we were wondering, like, he really likes planning commission.
All right. So yeah, no windows.
I like
So
fences though, no way.
next item on the agenda is a motion for adjournment.
I move to adjourn this meeting.
I'll second it.
All right. All in favor?
Okay.
Aye.
Aye. All right. We're adjourned.